Are you going to be here for this video? Are you? Hello guys, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name's Natalie and I am a first-time mum to twin boys that are currently just over 21 months, and today we're going to be talking all about tantrums. I want to share how I'm handling tantrums and what seems to have worked for us so far and what hasn't, and what we're still figuring out and all that stuff. I do try to follow a gentle parenting approach, but I am not that well read on it, and I'm just today sharing what we're doing, what's working for us and what isn't, as I hope to be a little bit of a guide for people in similar situations. But I am also here to take on any advice or anybody that's experienced, especially if you're an experienced twin mum, but also if you're parents of siblings that were very close in age, because I feel like we will have a lot in common as well. So far, when I've been reading up on tantrums, I'm finding a lot of advice, but a lot of it relates to one child and tantrums that they throw with you personally, whereas the things that I'm experiencing are tantrums between the two of the boys, and the advice doesn't really help that much. So it's kind of difficult to gauge whether you're doing the right thing. Anyway, just to clarify, that's what we're dealing with, that's what we're going to be discussing, and this is no video of advice, it is just my experience. So I want to let you know some of our struggles and challenges and how we're going to deal with it. So let's get started. Quickly, before we start, I am sorry about Hendrix breathing in the background here. I've tried to get rid of him, but he doesn't want to move, and I've just set this space up. So I'm sorry guys, you can have a little bit of panting. I'm hoping he will disappear in a minute. If he doesn't, I'll try and get rid of him again. But okay, let's get started. I am going to timestamp this, so if you just want to hear certain parts, please just skip and go to and from wherever you need to listen to. But we're going to start with prevention. This is going to be short and sweet because I really think 90% of the time there is no way of preventing a tantrum, especially at this age. But the biggest thing that I've noticed with individual tantrums, with one of them and me, is control. It always comes down to them having some control over the situation. So whether that be choices over commands given from me. For example, when I want to get out somewhere, say in the morning we're going somewhere and I want to be quick and I want to get them up and get them ready and get them changed and everything, the minute they know that I'm in a rush, they seem to get into these states of panic and tantrums occur. So what I try to do is give them small choices, like which shoes do you want to put on, and I give them a choice out of two, instead of trying to divert away from them trying to put their shoes on, because currently they just want to do everything for themselves and it takes so damn long and no one's got time for that, right? So instead of me sitting there battling with them and trying to put their own shoes on and doing it wrong and taking forever, I try to distract them by giving them a choice of which shoe, and while they're choosing, it distracts them from actually putting it on, and then I can quickly whip it on and we're done much quicker. Another thing that we try to do to prevent any tantrums occurring is making sure that they are well fed and well slept to do any sort of errand. I would not make appointments during nap time unless I really have to. I would not take them grocery shopping unless they've eaten previously or going to eat something as we go around. I just try and make sure that they are in the best possible mood ahead of time to prevent any tantrums or meltdowns. The next is saying bye to objects that they love. The boys have become obsessed with any trash truck or tractor or big vehicle or noisy vehicle. Anywhere we go, it is like, let's stay here and just stare at it. Even if they hear the noise of the trash truck, they stop in their tracks, they don't want to move, and they're just like looking for it. So we practice saying goodbye to the object over and over again. Bye bye tractor, bye bye, and then slowly move on and try and distract them into something else in the surroundings, because I just today went on a walk and the boys heard the sound of the trash truck because it was obviously going around Thursday morning where we were, and they would not walk around the park, and I had the dog and I had the stroller, and I was just like, boys, come on. I'd literally just taken them out of the stroller to do a walk and they were trying to go back to like the road. So I tried to just be like, bye bye trash truck, and they were waving and saying bye, and then I distracted them with like sticks and stuff. It doesn't always work, but it's just one thing that we try to do. Another thing, and this is probably my last tip for prevention, because it doesn't really work for me that much. When there's going to be a tantrum, there's going to be a tantrum. There's very little that you can do, but it's a mum bag of tricks. So by that I mean have something in your bag that they love at all times. I used to do this with diaper changing as well, but if you've got like a little car or a little doll or something that they're going to get excited to see, and you can feel them getting heated and getting agitated is something that maybe you can distract them just for a few minutes, especially if you're out in public. This is a great thing because, you know, when you're in line for something or you're trying to do something and you can just see this happening and making such a scene, that helps. We just recently had a trip to Barnes and Noble and they were loving life, and just as we're about to leave, Jack takes a like felt truck off the shelf and he just wouldn't let it go, and I just knew, like, oh no, I don't have anything in my bag to switch out with this truck. And yeah, it wasn't great. Let's just say it wasn't great. I luckily haven't had too many situations in public yet, but it's horrible. It's very horrible. So they're my tricks. I will just say, if all else fails and you're in a public space and you're having a nightmare, I would distract with like YouTube or your phone or something. I am not really one for condoning that, and I really don't like kids having like phones and things like that in restaurants. I feel like restaurants are a place for you to be having dinner and chatting, but at this age when you can't even like have a conversation with them, I feel like a bit of screen time is okay. But yeah, when they're, you know, older toddlers, I would like them to be engaged and actually enjoying dinner with me. Okay, so that's it for preventing tantrums. Like I said, doesn't always work for me. Pretty much 90% of the time we have a tantrum, even if I try any of these, but it's worth a go. Anything is worth a go. Moving on to issues that we are currently experiencing. These are things that are mostly causing tantrums right now for us and things that we're struggling with. After I list them, I will then talk about things that we do when they happen, things that are working and things that aren't. But for now, I'm just going to list some of the issues that we're currently experiencing. The biggest one and the earliest one that started was clinging to me. I think you will have seen this in some of my vlogs, but it happens the most at like dinner time, and mostly Jack. He will cling to my legs and will not let me move, and it is just one of the most frustrating things. So the minute you go to try and do something and you have this toddler just grabbing your legs and wanting to be held. Another situation that is causing a lot of tantrums is just them fighting in general. This mostly happens over a toy. One of the boys will see a toy and the other will see him looking at it. They'll both run to it and fight over it, and it normally ends in one, if not both, having a tantrum. This also goes on to the next issue that we're having, and that is hitting and biting and pushing and shoving. All of these sort of violent acts are happening when the fight is happening. So sometimes they will have a fight, someone will win a toy and there won't be a tantrum, and I'm like, yes. But then afterwards comes the biting or the hitting or the pushing, and then there's a tantrum. This is one of the hardest things for me, and the thing that I really want to solve, because I don't want any violence and I don't want people getting hurt. That is the number one thing for me, and I need to teach them that is not okay. So this is the biggest issue for me right now, and the one that I would like to solve first. So obviously welcoming any tips, but I'll let you know what we're currently trying to do when this happens in a little bit. The next is fixation on things. They are becoming obsessed with things, and this is so new. This happened in the last week. They literally are obsessed with the lovey and the pacifiers and the car. They seem to want to get in the car all the time. The minute I tell them like we're not doing that right now, or the pacifiers are only for night times, they go crazy. They don't even want to give it to me in the morning when they wake up. They want to keep it and walk around the house with it. So yeah, we even had a drawer that we hid all the pacifiers and the loveys in, and they've understood how to like tippy toe up and reach them out of the drawer. So I'm trying to figure out new ways to distract them from that. But it's, yeah, the last couple of weeks it's become a very, very big thing. Right after they got poorly and I let them have it all day, it's become like a thing that they want. So it just shows you, never do something once that you're not expecting to do every day, because they don't understand that. And the minute they have a luxury of something once, they want it all the time. Okay. Guys, the dog has just left, so hopefully no more panting or itching or something in the background. Last but not least, the other issue that we're having is trying to get my attention, a tantrum over my attention, and this is really horrible. And it happens a lot when we're doing things together. Say we're playing in the playroom and I'm playing with Henry, Jack gets very upset and vice versa, and they just don't like me giving attention to one or the other. Even if it's like for a minute, like I have to be with both of them, and then when I'm with both of them, a lot of the time it still ends up in a tantrum. So you can imagine, I try to leave them to their own devices a lot, but sometimes I just want to play with them or I want to do something with them, and it's kind of sad actually. It happens a lot at night time when I read to them. I do try and sit them both on my lap. They love that. They're always coming over and sitting on my legs, but they get annoyed with each other, or they get annoyed with each of them have a book and they want to read that book, and I have to pick who goes first. So, you know, it's just trying to let them know that we're going to take turns and we'll read this book after that book, but it's just a competition for my attention all the time. Okay, so they're the main things. There's lots of other things, but they're the main ones that come to mind right now. So we'll move on and talk about what I do when these things happen. The first things first, I really do try and remain calm. Doesn't always work, but it is my main priority to remain calm, because I feel like if I start getting agitated and angry and if I start yelling, how are they going to learn? They mimic us, right? Especially at this age, they're learning everything all the time. So if I ask them to be calm, but I'm getting crazy and mad, how are they going to learn that? They're just going to imitate me, and that is not going to help any of us. So I also think it's important to know how your child reacts when they have a tantrum. Sometimes mine run up to me, a lot of the time actually, especially if we're out in public and they get upset about something, they will run to me for comfort. But if they're at home, sometimes they like to run away and have a tantrum, and I think it's important to be aware of this and leave them, just have a minute. If they want some space, let them have the space to release their anger. And it's hard, it's very hard, because when they're screaming and crying like that, it does rile you up. But if you can just remain calm and let them have their minute or their 5 minutes, however long it may be, they learn to calm down themselves. And sometimes that just helps you, you know, you don't even need to interfere. Just let them get their anger out and calm down, as long as no one's getting hurt. The next thing that I try my best to do is being consistent with the way that I react to any of these tantrums. Now, I'll be honest, I find this really hard because my natural instinct to react is not really the way that I want to react. So I'm trying to change my habits, but obviously, firstly, remaining calm. I try to wait for the crying to stop, because I feel like if I try and tell them anything while they're in that state of crying and screaming, they're not going to hear me properly. It's pointless trying to explain if they're screaming and not listening. And then I just try to address the situation, whatever happened. I try to say that it's okay if they're frustrated or angry, but it's not okay to hit or to bite or to take toys off each other. This is very hard. I don't even know if the boys are understanding what I'm saying half the time at the moment, but I'm just trying to be consistent every single time, and I make sure they're looking at me, and that is really funny because I've noticed that they really start to calm down if I say, Jack, look at me, look at mummy, look at mummy. It takes a long time, but eventually he looks at me, and then I try and explain a little bit. And then the final thing I try to do, especially if it's not been a tantrum where they've hurt each other or anything like that, I just try and give them a hug, let them know they're loved, and let them know that they did a good job for calming down, because I think that is sometimes easily forgotten. They did calm down, they did stop having the tantrum, so praise them for that, and then hopefully the next time that it happens, it will be a little bit shorter than the previous time, because they know that they've done a good thing in calming down. Okay, as for the clinging to me, I've tried multiple different things. At the beginning, I used to just try and tell the boys that mummy can't pick you up right now, mummy's busy, can you wait a second? And it didn't really work. They just went crazy. And I did this for quite a long time, maybe 2 or 3 weeks, and it just wasn't really helping. So then I tried being a little bit more soft and sort of acting like them and being like, oh, I can really see you want me to pick you up, but I can't, and just not giving an explanation, just saying I can't. It kind of worked for Henry more so than Jack. Jack just didn't like the way that I was answering. So the final thing that I am trying right now, and it seems to be working, is crouching down to his level and giving him a hug, because he's like grabbing at my leg. So I'm like, oh, do you want a hug? And I go down, I give him a hug, and then I say, what are you playing with right now? Or can you show me where this is? And I let him take my hand and show me where something is in the kitchen. Or I try not to go off, obviously, because I'm in the middle of cooking, but I try to just distract him instead of getting agitated straight away. It's like literally a minute. Getting down to his level, asking him something, and he takes me there. And normally I can just leave him with whatever he's found, whether he's going to play, and go back to cooking, and he's fine, and he doesn't do it. It's very hard, you've got to have patience, but I'm finding that it's definitely working. So we're going to stick with that for a moment and see what happens. As for them getting my attention, this I'm really struggling with, and as I said, I would love any tips for. I just am trying to teach them that we're going to take turns. Henry's going to pick a book first and then Jack's going to pick a book, or Jack's going to pick a toy that we're going to play with and then Henry's going to pick a toy. I think I'm going to invest in getting one of those timers, either like a sound timer or a sand timer or something, so that they can start to understand that like this is my time with Henry to play, and then when the timer finishes I'll play with Jack, or vice versa. Like, I'm not sure whether that will help, but I've heard a lot of things help like that, where there's a time limit or counting down or something. So we haven't tried that yet, but that's something I'm going to try. But yeah, we're not really doing that well with that. It's an ongoing struggle, I'll be honest. A lot of people advised me to spend one-on-one time with them, to do something on the weekends. Alid does something with Jack and I do something with Henry, and then you swap it. But we just don't have the time right now. But I know that that is well advised if you're having twins and you're having this problem. So maybe when they're a little bit older this will be easier, but right now it's just not really happening in our situation, but hopefully soon. And then finally, for fixations on things, I'm trying to make new routines. I'm trying to find things that act as a distraction or act as something exciting that they can learn to do for the thing that they're fixated on. Like I said, saying goodbye to the trucks or the tractors or whatever it is that they see outside that they can't seem to let go of. And then for inside, things like the pacifiers and the loveys. I'm thinking to get like a basket or something that they can run over and put them in the morning, and then I can put that away out of arm's reach, and then they can go and grab them from it at night. Maybe just something like that might distract them from having it. And then for the TV is a huge one for us. They hate being taken away from the TV, and I'm not a huge condoner of screen time, as I said, but I do also watch the TV regularly myself, and Alid has it on the weekend, so it's not something that we can really get rid of completely. They're always going to be around it and see it, and I also just want them to be able to like be okay with that. So something that I've tried recently is I let them have 20 minutes to half an hour. To be honest, it's not even becoming daily, especially this week when I've been on my own. I've realised that they've probably only had one day out of 5 that they've watched it so far. But what I've tried doing is letting them have 20 minutes, and then I tell them 20 minutes is up, who wants to press the button on the remote, and I'll like let one of them press pause and then let one of them press the TV off, and it's working. Don't know how, but it seems to be working so far. So just distractions for things that I know are going to cause a tantrum. What's next? Biting and hitting. Again, something that we're really struggling with. The biting is only Henry that's doing it, and I've asked a few people about how to deal with this. One of my friends has a younger sibling, and she said that she was dealing with this when she was a baby, and her mum said for her to bite her back. And believe it or not, someone else told me this, and I think that works if you have an older sibling that understands biting isn't right. But for my boys, they don't understand. So obviously I couldn't even get Jack to bite Henry back, but they advised that I bite Henry when he does it. If I catch him in the act, I bite him to let him know how it feels. And obviously that's supposed to encourage them not to do it, but I am struggling, guys. I don't know if I can bite him. I really don't know, but obviously this is a serious matter, and it's something that I really want them to stop, as well with the hitting. They're both doing the hitting and they'll hit each other. It's not that hard, but it's just not pleasant. Luckily they don't seem to do this to children when they're out and about, but to each other it is a lot of the time. So yeah, we're working on things with that. Don't have many tips or tricks that we've figured out yet, but I did listen to a podcast about twin tantrums, and they just said that the most important thing is to get in the middle of them when they're hurting each other. If they're not hurting each other, let them have the tantrums, let them fight. But if they're hurting each other, you have to get involved. So we need to figure out what we're going to do and be consistent with that, because we haven't yet, and I'm working on it. So stay tuned. I'll probably let you all know in a vlog how we're dealing with that. Last but not least, and this is especially if we're in public, I will use a distraction. Anything, like I said, phones, screens, anything. Like, I'll even buy them something if it's going to help, because it's really hard in public, especially if you have two having a tantrum at the same time. It's just a horrible feeling, and I know you shouldn't care about anyone else, but it's very hard not to. So yeah, I will use any sort of distraction if they're not calming down. And last but not least, walk away. I have done this at home a few times when I've just not been feeling good myself, or just that particular day I've been struggling and I don't have the patience and I feel like I'm gonna let rip. I'd rather walk away. So occasionally I'll take them into their room, lay them down on the carpet, I know there's nothing in there that they can get themselves into trouble with or hurt themselves, and I'll close the door and I'll just walk away and just let myself calm down. And I just want to let you know, if you're watching this and you're struggling, don't feel like you can't do that. I beat myself up about it. I feel like I shouldn't be walking away from them, but sometimes if you know that you're going to act out wrong, it's better just to walk away. They're going to be okay. They just need to calm down, and you get time to regroup. They get time to calm down, and it's not every time that you're doing it, so it's okay. It's okay. Okay, so next up, I'm going to talk about things to avoid doing. As I said, I was listening to a podcast on Twinversity about things to avoid, and I found it really helpful, and it just categorized like 5 or 6 tips that I thought were very, very relevant, and sometimes things that I hadn't really thought of. So the first is just don't ask them questions. Don't ask them why they did something. Babies, especially at this age, don't have the understanding or the mental development or the language skills to express what they're feeling. So that's why they're having the tantrum. So it's pointless asking them a question in the heat of a meltdown. That's just going to add frustration, and for you and for them, and probably prolong the tantrum as well. So just don't ask them a question. The next is don't use a reason, and I'm one to do this a lot. I try and explain to them in the middle of the tantrum like why they mustn't do something, and there's just no point. Let them calm down. As I said, they cannot hear you through all the crying, and just save the explanation until the tantrum's finished, and then maybe they'll hear some of it and you will feel like at least you've input something rather than trying to speak over their yelling and crying. The next thing to avoid is definitely to get angry or start yelling yourself. As I said, babies mimic what we do. So if we're yelling at them when they're having a tantrum, what are they learning? That they're going to yell when they have a fight, or yell when somebody snatches a toy, or yell when they don't get what they want. None of this is going to help you, and eventually you're just going to be receiving exactly what you don't want from your child. So remain calm, and if you have to, walk away. Okay, last but not least, things to avoid, and I have done this many times and I'm very aware of it, but I am going to stop it. But don't give in. If you say they're not having any TV time, or if you say they're not going to have their dummy, don't in 5 minutes, when you can't deal with the crying anymore, give in and let them have it, because they're learning that the tantrum gets them what they want, and they're going to just do it more and more. I've done it. I've been a sucker for it. They've been crying and crying and crying, and I've given them the pacifier because it's the only thing that stops them crying, and it definitely hasn't helped me. But you know, there's been those days where I just needed a break, but I am really trying to be more present and think about that and not give in. If I say they're not having a snack, they're not having a snack, and that's the end of it. Don't teach them that the tantrum gets the reward. Okay, I think that's everything that I wanted to chat about today. I will say that I am currently in the stage of trying to teach the boys ways to express themselves rather than whinging and whining, because it's been killing me. The whinging is just awful, and so is the crying. Like, all of it is just so draining, and I know they're not at the age where they can speak that much to me yet, or express what they need, but they can point, they can say quite a few words. So I feel like the more I teach them now, the more understanding they're going to get, and the easier it is for them. It must be so frustrating to be a toddler and not be able to express what you need or what you want. And even though the tantrums are happening a lot, I try to recognize, especially if the tantrums happened and no one's been hurt and no one's been violent, I just try to praise them that they've calmed down and that everything's okay, and it's okay to be frustrated. And I definitely try and praise them if the tantrum's short, or if they do seem to come around and listen to me. I try and express that I'm proud of them and that it's okay. And I think it's okay to let them know that they're loved no matter what. Positive comments definitely build self-esteem, right? So the more that we praise them and give them positive outlook on stuff, I think it's going to help, and it will build healthy, confident, comfortable humans. There's the hope, okay? But as I said, I am really struggling with the tantrums. We're in the thick of it, and the boys are just crazy. Goes from laughing to fighting in seconds, and it's constant. I'd say every hour there's 2 or 3 tantrums. So yeah, pray for me, and please let me know if you have any of your own tips, tricks, or advice. And I just want to open the comment box really for everybody just to discuss things that they're dealing with, or the most common tantrums that their little ones are having. I feel like this is such a nice place for others to meet other parents or other mums or other first-time dads or whatever it may be. It's a place for us to build a little community and chat. So very grateful for that, and I love hearing some of your stories. So yeah, that's it, I think. Nothing else to let you know. I will say some of the resources that I look into are Twinversity. That helps. I'm not sure if I love their podcast. I've listened to a few episodes and it hasn't been that helpful, but they have so much content like online and so many blog posts that are amazing. So definitely go and check those out if you're a twin parent. And I follow quite a lot of twin parents on Instagram. I can't really think of any names right now. If I think of any, I'll leave them in the description box below. But also, I'm sure everyone's heard of it, but Big Little Feelings. If you're into gentle parenting, definitely check them out. They're a really good account on Instagram. And I think there's a book that I want to get called Gentle Parenting. Not sure who it's by, but I've heard it recommended on a lot of other YouTube videos, so I'm going to try and get that and give it a read. I don't know how much it will help with twin tantrums, but I think it will just help overall how to deal with the little ones, and I'm sure it will help me a lot in the future with other things that we're going to experience. So that's something on my list to get. But yeah, if anyone has any links or anything like that, please leave them below for other people that may be watching. And yeah, I will see you all in the next video, guys. I hope you have a lovely week. Bye.